Hey, basketball fans, welcome back to Tips and Streams, your go-to spot for the hottest NBA regular season predictions. I'm Kokan, and I'm here to break down today's matchups and give you the edge you need to make the best bets. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support means the world to us. Remember, our channel has no sponsors and relies solely on the love and support of viewers like you. Even a small donation by pressing the thanks button under the video helps us keep bringing you top-notch content every day. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and fellow basketball enthusiasts. And we love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let us know what you want to see in our forecasts. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you the content you crave. Let's jump right into today's NBA predictions. We've got some exciting games lined up, so stay tuned and let's get that winning streak going. Today we have predictions for 6 NBA games. The first prediction for today is for a game between the New York Knicks and Boston Celtics. This game between the Knicks and the Celtics is shaping up to be another classic showdown. Boston has been dominant in this matchup, holding a commanding 306-109 lead in their head-to-head series, and they've also won 6 out of the last 10 games against New York. What stands out is how well Boston has played at home, winning 3 out of the last 5 games against the Knicks at TD Garden. They've really been in control this season, with 2 massive wins over New York, including a 131-104 beatdown just a few weeks ago. The Celtics are firing on all cylinders, and they've been on a roll lately. On the flip side, the Knicks have been struggling to find consistency. They've shown some promise, like their thrilling win over the Chicago Bulls on a game winner, but they've followed that up with letdowns like their blowout loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's been a trend for New York. They take down weaker teams, but often falter against the heavy hitters. When they last squared off with the Celtics, they couldn't keep pace. The Knicks dug themselves a hole early due to poor shooting, and defensively, they just couldn't handle Boston's depth. They were absolutely destroyed on the boards, losing 48-30 in the rebounding battle. It's clear they need to step up their physicality if they want a chance here. Looking at the Knicks' key players, Karl-Anthony Towns has had a solid season overall, but he struggled against Boston's defense. He'll need to find a way to get going and work better with Jalen Brunson. Speaking of Brunson, he's been inconsistent lately and needs to be more efficient and work on shot selection. If these two can find a rhythm, it could help the Knicks challenge Boston. Defensively, New York's issues are glaring. The Celtics shot 45.1% from the field and 48.7% from deep against them last time. That kind of defensive lapse isn't going to cut it in a game like this. They need to pick up their defensive intensity, close out on shooters, and, most importantly, start contesting shots better. 1 block in the last game is not nearly enough. They need to make Boston work for every bucket. On the other hand, the Celtics are just a juggernaut right now. Jason Tatum is playing at an MVP level, and with guys like Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, and Kristaps Porzingis stepping up, it's no surprise they've been so dominant. Boston has different ways to hurt you. Sometimes it's Tatum lighting it up for 40 points, other times it's Pritchard coming off the bench and hitting 30. This team has the depth, the shooting, and the physicality to make it tough for anyone, including the Knicks. The Celtics have been crushing teams lately, covering the spread in 4 straight games and flexing their muscle with wins like a 20-point blowout of the 76ers and a 13-point victory over the Spurs. Their victory over New York earlier this season was a statement game, and I think they've got the Knicks number. The Celtics just have too many weapons, and if they can get their 3-point shooters, Tatum, Brown, Derek White, firing and dominate the boards, they're hard to stop. For the Knicks to have any chance, they have to limit Boston's second-chance opportunities and prevent the Celtics from dominating the glass. Boston is going to get theirs from deep, so New York's best shot is to answer with their own 3-point shooting and limit those open looks from the perimeter. The Knicks' success this season has often relied on their shooting from beyond the arc, so they'll need to get hot from deep if they want to keep this one close. As far as the Celtics' game plan, it's all about maintaining focus. If they can control the boards and keep the ball moving, they should be able to exploit the Knicks' defense. They'll need to neutralize New York's 3-point shooters and force them into tough shots. I don't see the Celtics losing if they stick to this game plan. At the end of the day, Boston is the more complete team, but I'm not writing off the Knicks just yet. They've got a coach in Tom Thibodeau who knows how to prepare his squad for these tough matchups. The Knicks might not come out on top, but I wouldn't be shocked if they cover the spread, especially with Thibodeau's defensive schemes. I'm leaning toward New York to keep it within the 9-point spread. When it comes to the total points, I expect a more defensive-minded game. The Celtics can score in bunches, but I think the Knicks will clamp down enough to keep the total under 233. Both teams will need to play smart and disciplined, and I think New York will do just enough to slow the pace and keep it from turning into a shootout. So, while Boston is the safer pick, I'm backing the Knicks to cover the spread and betting on the total to go under 233. This game is going to be a good test for both teams, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
Welcome to BetUS, Sportsbook and Casino, your ultimate hub for secure and thrilling sports betting and casino gaming. BetUS is one of the oldest and most reliable online sportsbooks in the U.S., serving millions of clients all over the globe each month. BetUS, trusted for over 30 years, offers huge welcome bonuses, countless betting options, and many deposit and payout methods. Depositing funds is a breeze and safe, with a minimum deposit of just $10. Payouts are fast and hassle-free, beginning at only $50. Choose from various payout options like MoneyGram, couriered check, cryptocurrency, or bank wire. Signing up is quick and easy. For signing up, you can use the link in the description and enjoy a generous 125% welcome bonus of up to $3,000. By signing up using the link in the description, you'll also support us as we earn a small commission from your registration at BetUS. Thank you for supporting us. Join now and start winning.
The second prediction for today is for a game between the Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors. This game between the Golden State Warriors and Dallas Mavericks is going to be a good one, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. The Mavs lead the all-time series 95-84, and they've won 6 of the last 10 matchups, but the Warriors have been pretty solid at home, taking 3 out of the last 5 games at Oracle. This season, though, the Mavs have had the upper hand, winning 2 of the 3 games they've played so far, and those games have all been decided by 10 points or fewer. In their latest showdown, the Mavs squeezed out a 111-107 win, showing they can hang with the Warriors when it counts. When Dallas last took down Golden State, they kept the lead pretty much all game. Kyrie Irving was on fire, scoring 42 points, hitting 15 of 25 shots, and draining 7 of 10 from deep. Meanwhile, Klay Thompson couldn't quite get it going, shooting 6 for 19, and Max Christie had a solid 17 points. Despite losing the rebounding battle by a margin of 50-39, Dallas made up for it by being active defensively, racking up 9 steals and 7 blocks. What's even more impressive is that they did it without their newest addition, Anthony Davis, showing that the team can still get the job done without him. For Dallas to cover in this game, they'll need more of the same from Irving. He's been the engine for this team lately. He's going to need to score, but also keep the offense flowing by setting up teammates. Defensively, they've got to slow down Stephen Curry and make sure he doesn't get hot from deep, or else they could get burned quickly. Golden State, however, has had their own struggles this season. They've been inconsistent, but when they get their shooting going, they're tough to beat. The Warriors' last win over Dallas was a prime example. They were down at halftime, but came out in the third quarter, dropping 37 points to seize control of the game. Curry was ridiculous, dropping 37 points and handing out 9 assists, while Draymond Green and Jonathan Kuminga also chipped in. They've had some shooting struggles, especially from the free throw line, but their rebounding in that game was a huge factor, and if they can win the boards again, they'll be in a good position. For Golden State to cover the spread here, they'll need Curry and Kuminga to step up on offense, while also getting a solid performance from their new addition, Jimmy Butler. If they can limit Irving's impact and control the glass, they should be able to take care of business. Golden State comes into this game with some solid momentum, having just destroyed the Sacramento Kings 132-108. They're now sitting at 29-27 on the year, and with the addition of Butler, the Warriors have looked much more dangerous. Butler has already meshed well with the team, bringing some much-needed defensive intensity. With Curry leading the charge, Golden State looks ready to make a push, and they'll be looking to keep their momentum rolling in front of their home crowd. But let's not sleep on the Mavs. Despite missing a bunch of key players like Dwight Powell, Caleb Martin, and P.J. Washington, they've still managed to win 5 of their last 6 games. Irving has been playing at an elite level, averaging 28.3 points over his last 8 games. He's been especially effective against Golden State this season, shooting 57% from the field and nearly 53% from 3. Even with their rebounding issues due to missing big men, Dallas has been getting it done, especially defensively. They've kept their opponents under 113 points in 4 of their last 5 games, so they're not just relying on scoring, they've been tough on defense too. The Mavs might be dealing with injuries, but they've shown they can keep up with the best of them, including Golden State. With Irving leading the charge and their defense tightening up, I think they've got a shot to keep this one close. The Warriors may have had their moments this season, but the Mavs have been playing with confidence, and I wouldn't be surprised if they cover the 9-point spread. In the end, I think the Warriors are still the favorites here, but Dallas has been playing solid basketball, even with some key players out. They've beaten the Warriors already this month, and they've won 5 of the last 6 against them overall. This line is a bit disrespectful to the Mavs, so I'm backing them to cover. Irving's been balling, and the Mavs defense has stepped up when needed. Golden State may be coming off some big wins, but Dallas isn't backing down anytime soon. So, I'll take the Mavericks to cover the spread and keep it close in what should be another fun matchup. Before we move on, I have a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing might seem like a small action, but it actually makes a big impact for us. Plus, it's completely free for you. Have you clicked that subscribe button? Awesome, thank you so much for your support. Now let's dive back into the video. The third prediction for today is for a game between the Los Angeles Clippers and Indiana Pacers. So, we've got the Clippers heading into Indiana to face the Pacers, and I think this one could be a real test for LA. Right now, the Clippers are sitting at 31-24, but they've been a bit all over the place this season, struggling with consistency. They've had their highs, like that 3-game win streak, but then they hit a bump with a tough 116-110 loss to the Bucks. And it wasn't just the loss, they were missing Norman Powell, who's been one of their best players this year. The dude's been balling, averaging 24.2 points a game and shooting nearly 50%. His absence hurt them big time, and it's something they can't afford if they want to keep pace with the competition. Sure, they added some fresh faces like Ben Simmons and Bogdan Bogdanovic to the squad, but let's be real, Simmons hasn't really been the same since his injury woes, and the Clippers are still trying to find their identity, especially away from home. They've been much better at Staples than on the road, and this game in Indiana won't be easy. On the flip side, the Pacers are definitely trending upwards. They've got a solid 31-23 record and have won 7 of their last 10, so they're definitely coming into this game with momentum. Tyrese Halliburton has been a straight-up stud lately, and he's been leading the charge for Indiana. In their win over Memphis, he dropped 22 points and dished out 9 assists, just looking more and more like the leader this team needs. You've also got Miles Turner, who's been solid all year, and despite some up-and-down performances, he came back strong after a brief injury absence with a double-double against the Grizzlies. Let's not forget Pascal Siakam. His move from Toronto has paid dividends, and he's been putting up 20.6 points a night, leading the squad. Indiana has also been really tough to beat at home, with a 15-5 record since January, which is no joke. Looking at how these two teams have been performing lately, it's hard to ignore the fact that the Clippers' road woes are a big issue here. They've been inconsistent all season long, and with key guys like Powell still up in the air, it's tough to see them getting this one. Meanwhile, the Pacers have been catching fire, especially at home, where they're just a different animal. The pace they play at, the way they defend the paint, and their ability to execute on fast breaks is going to put a lot of pressure on the Clippers. I do think LA has the talent to win this, but their road struggles and inconsistency make me lean towards the Pacers here. At the end of the day, I see Indiana pulling this one off, especially with how they've been playing at home. They've got a lot to prove, and with their recent form, I expect them to handle business and cover the spread. The Clippers may hang tough for half, but I just don't see them putting it all together on the road in this one. The Pacers are looking like a solid playoff team, and they're not going to let a wounded Clippers squad sneak away with this one. The fourth prediction for today is for a game between the San Antonio Spurs and New Orleans Pelicans. Alright, let's dive into this matchup between the Pelicans and the Spurs. It's tough to get excited about the Pelicans right now. They've had a rough go this season, sitting at a dismal 13-43. Even with Zion Williamson and CJ McCollum in the lineup, they've just been unable to string together consistent performances. Zion did his thing with 29 points in the last game, McCollum had 16, and Trey Murphy added 20. But still, it wasn't nearly enough to get them over the hump against a Dallas Mavericks team that, honestly, they should have been more competitive with. Then you've got the Spurs, who've also had their issues, but in my opinion, they've got more heart right now. Sure, losing Victor Wembanyama for the rest of the season stings, they were riding a lot on that young phenom, but the Spurs have a pretty seasoned squad still. Guys like De'Aaron Fox, Chris Paul, and Harrison Barnes are experienced and capable of stepping up in big moments. They didn't exactly get the result they wanted against the Detroit Pistons, but it's been a long season, and sometimes those back-to-back games hit hard. Still, the Spurs are in a better spot mentally. They're still pushing for that playoff spot, so this game is vital for them. Looking at the numbers, San Antonio has been solid on the defensive side of the ball. They're holding opponents to 35.8% from three, ranking them 14th in the league for defending the perimeter. The Pelicans? Well, they've been struggling there, allowing a rough 36.7%. That defensive gap could definitely come into play, especially since the Pelicans have been a bit inconsistent with their shooting. The Spurs will be able to lock down on the perimeter and force New Orleans into tough shots. And I think it's clear the Pelicans just aren't playing with the same fire. With all the injuries and constant lineup changes, they haven't been able to gel. Their 22-33-1 record against the spread tells you everything you need to know. It's not just that they're losing games, it's that they're not even covering the spread, and that's never a good sign for bettors. They've got the talent, no doubt, but talent alone isn't going to get it done when your defense is shaky, and your team just hasn't clicked this season. On the flip side, the Spurs are fighting for a playoff spot. With Wembanyama out, they've got a little more to prove, and I expect them to come out hungry for this one. They've got the defensive chops to keep the game in check, and with the Pelicans struggling to find any real rhythm, I think the Spurs can come in and get the job done. This game means more to San Antonio than it does for New Orleans, and I think that'll show on the floor. So, when I look at this matchup, it's hard to see the Pelicans pulling it off. They've been a mess all season long, and despite the star power they have, they just don't have the consistency or the fire to beat a Spurs team that's still pushing for the playoffs. The Spurs will cover the spread, and I wouldn't be surprised if they take this one outright. The Pelicans simply don't have enough to get the job done here. The fifth prediction for today is for a game between the Memphis Grizzlies and Cleveland Cavaliers. This Sunday, we've got a really intriguing matchup between the Grizzlies and the Cavaliers at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Both teams come into this one with some momentum, but there's a clear edge for the Cavs, especially when you consider their performance at home and their overall consistency this season. Memphis had to scratch and claw their way to a tight 105-104 win over Orlando in their last game. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done. John Morant put up 23 points, leading the charge, but the Grizzlies' play recently has been pretty up and down. While they've still managed to stay near the top of the Western Conference, they've been far from flawless, especially on the defensive end. They've given up over 125 points in 3 of their last 5 games, and that kind of defensive vulnerability isn't something you want to have against a high-powered offense like Cleveland's. Memphis' road record, especially against winning teams, has been shaky, and I just don't see them coming in and handling the Cavs at their home court, where they've been nearly unstoppable this season. On the flip side, Cleveland has been absolutely rolling. They just dismantled the New York Knicks 142-105, pushing their win streak to 6 games. The Cavs have been dominant on both sides of the ball, ranking number 1 in offensive rating and holding their opponents to under 112 points per 100 possessions. Donovan Mitchell is having an MVP-caliber season, and he's got help with Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. I can't talk about Cleveland without mentioning Jared Allen, though he's been playing like a true force in the paint, both defensively and offensively. The Cavaliers have one of the deepest rosters in the league, and their recent trade for DeAndre Hunter adds another shooter and defensive presence that makes them even more dangerous. Cleveland's been nearly flawless at home this season, with a 26-4 record at the Fieldhouse. They've been covering the spread left and right, especially when facing Western Conference teams with winning records. Meanwhile, Memphis has struggled on the road against teams with a winning record, and let's not forget that the Cavaliers have beaten them in 3 straight matchups, including a 110-98 win just a few months ago. Looking at how these teams match up, I just don't see how Memphis can keep up. They've been inconsistent, and Cleveland's depth and star power will be too much for them to handle. The Cavs are simply playing at another level right now, and when you add their strong defense and dominant offense, Memphis is in for a tough night. I'm sure the Grizzlies will put up a fight, but I think Cleveland takes this one and covers the minus 5-point spread. They're just too good, especially at home, and with their current form, I don't see them dropping this game. The Cavs are going to continue their dominant season, and Memphis is going to find it tough to keep pace. The sixth prediction for today is for a game between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Minnesota Timberwolves. All right, here's the lowdown on this upcoming battle between the Timberwolves and the Thunder. The Thunder have been on fire this season, sitting at the top of the Western Conference with a 45-10 record. Coming off an easy 130-107 win over the Utah Jazz after the All-Star break, they look like a well-oiled machine. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been absolutely tearing it up, leading the league in scoring at 32.2 points per game. He's also adding 6.1 assists and 5.1 rebounds, making a serious case for MVP. Jalen Williams has been stepping up in a big way too, averaging nearly 21 points a game while contributing in all areas. Coach Daigneault has this young squad clicking with the best defense in the league, just 105.8 points allowed per 100 posse science, and a top 5 offense, 118.8 points per 100 possessions. They're looking scary right now. Minnesota, on the other hand, has been a bit of a roller coaster. Sitting in 7th place with a 31-26 record, they've been up and down, struggling to find their rhythm. Their last game was a tough 121-115 loss to the Houston Rockets, and they've only got one win in their last 4. They've really missed Karl Anthony Towns, who they traded away in the offseason. Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo were supposed to fill that gap, but neither of them has really stepped up the way they hoped. Anthony Edwards has been holding it down, though, averaging 27.6 points, 5.8 boards, and 4.5 assists per game. But he can't do it all by himself, and with players like Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle out, things aren't looking easy for the Timberwolves. Looking back at their last matchup before the break, the Timberwolves managed to pull off a 116-101 upset at home. It was a big surprise, especially with the Thunder being in such dominant form. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a rare off night, shooting just 6 of 21 for 24 points. But even though the Thunder had 6 players in double digits, they couldn't overcome the firepower from Minnesota, with Edwards dropping 23 and Naz Reid coming up with 27 points. That game was an anomaly, though. The Thunder are hungry for revenge, and it's hard to see them letting it happen again. Oklahoma City has been solid all season, and their chemistry and overall talent are hard to match. I expect them to come out swinging this time. For Minnesota to stand a chance, they've got to figure out how to stop Gilgeous-Alexander and make him work for every bucket. Edwards has to keep balling out, but he needs help from his teammates. The Timberwolves have a solid defense, 5th in the league, and can slow things down when they need to, but against the Thunder's firepower, that might not be enough. Controlling the boards, especially on the offensive glass, is going to be key if they want to keep the game close. The Timberwolves play at a slower pace, and while that could help them dictate the tempo, it's going to be a tough task to outplay the Thunder's deep roster and high-octane offense. If you're betting on this one, the Thunder are clearly the stronger team, but the Timberwolves aren't going to go down without a fight. Oklahoma City's depth and defense should carry them to a win, but Minnesota has the ability to surprise. I do think this one will stay under the 229.5 total points line, especially since the Timberwolves will likely want to slow the game down. Despite all that, I'm still backing the Thunder to come out on top, but I could see Minnesota keeping it closer than expected and covering that 10-point spread. It's going to be an exciting one to watch, for sure.